The Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy is one of the very best trilogies in all of gaming, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on its own stands as one of the greatest RPGs of all time, in my opinion. We just celebrated 3 years of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, what it means to us, what makes it such a special game, and so much more, I have Nishquikpops with me and Yggdrasiel. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me, Justin. It's
Thanks for
uh,
having me.
it's been fun seeing your stuff on Twitter and YouTube and seeing your channel grow. And I'm always down to talk about Xenoblade. And I know Yggdrasil is
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, look, I'm already here to cut off Nishquick. Hey, I'm happy to be here too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much. And yeah, it's been cool. Like, one of the great things about Xenoblade and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is how it's like connected, so many people. And I know it's like through Xenoblade that like I made connected with you guys through Twitter and through Xenoblade. So
Yeah, it's it's
yes,
it's kind of a word of mouth thing. You tell someone Xenoblade is peak fiction, and if they believe you, they will try it out, they'll give it a shot, and they'll experience it themselves.
yeah,
hmm
yeah. But we need more people to experience it. So
Yeah.
everybody, if you're listening, if you caught this podcast, this conversation, just for whatever random reason, and you haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I'm gonna need you to give that game a chance, give the
Give
whole
it a
series a
shot.
chance.
It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Um, but to start things off, I want to just talk about like what are our overall thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and like what were like maybe some memories that you had from its launch year.
Uh, you want to go first, Dig? I have a lot of stories, but you can
Oh, there's a
start us
lot
off.
of stories for overall thoughts, especially with its launch year.
Yeah.
I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has a very special place in my heart. I have to really attribute that to a large part of why I was able to get into the Xenoblade community. I mean, I was just the year before, I was like, let's start YouTube. Let's like, I want to learn how to edit. If I'm gonna video edit, if I'm gonna do that, I may as well like start a YouTube channel and start like that. So it started small, and then Xenoblade 3 was announced, and that was where it all really started to hit. Because at that point, I was like, I know what I want to do. I got the passion. Let's do it. And bit by bit, as Xenoblade 3 info started to come out more and more, as we started getting more of those videos, and I started to go into analysis mode, that's how I became more attributed and acclimated and really started to pop out a little bit with the Xenoblade community. That's where I started making friends like with Nish Quick, I think with you a little bit later, JB Spear Freak, people like that started to take note, and that's how we became good friends. And that's a large part of why I attribute Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with my first sort of big break with the Xenoblade community. So I have very fond memories when it comes to that. As I do with pre-ordering the actual game itself. Uh,
Yeah.
I was one of the lucky ones. I got to pre-order 2 special editions
Oh, you
from the
got two? I didn't
website.
know you got
Wow.
two of them.
Oh yeah, and it was a pain in the rear, but I got it, and I had was like I remember furiously talking with Nintendo when the game released, like, why is it not here yet? You promised it would ship on day,
Yeah.
and or like it would be here on day, and they're like, oh, we're so sorry, sir, but we thank you, and they're like, it's not good enough. I need compensation. Like skills my dad taught me, um, but no, it was all fun, crazy time. We're all scarred from Wario. Um,
Yeah, we'll never forget.
As for overall
Yeah.
thoughts on the game itself, I mean, what can I say? It's a phenomenal game. While I still would not play it without playing Xenoblade 1 and 2 beforehand, it's still a game that holds up on its own, has all these great ideas, has all these philosophies. Musical incorporation is one of the best in the entire series in terms of leitmotifs and attributing its themes to the characters and expressing its story through the music itself. I mean, like absolutely exquisite. I do think that this game is the pinnacle of storytelling and character expression. Um, its choice to have all the party members at pretty much available from the get-go, and just seeing how each character evolves throughout the game, as well as evolves in how they cooperate with their other party members and how they interact. It's one of my favorite. In fact, one of my favorite scenes in all of Xenoblade 3 is literally their introduction scenes when they're at that camp after the events have all occurred and after chapter 1, and they're all literally together. And they're just like, well, this is awkward. But then they start breaking down the barriers and talking about each other. And then little by little, they come to express themselves with one another more and more. And I just love seeing that kind of character development. What else do I really want to like quickly go over? I thought the menus were fair. Autosave is the god saver. So when I saw that, I knew we were in for a good time. Combat looks chaotic, but it feels nice when you get down to it and you know exactly what you're doing. What else? There's also, I guess, the fact that I stream this game on YouTube as well. So it led to
in hard mode too.
I streamed it all in hard mode, and that was an adventure. With the exception of the very first boss, because I was like, look,
Dude,
I could sit here for 3 hours, because I was hard locked, unfortunately. Like, I'm 2 levels below where I'd like to be to kick this boss's butt. But at the same time, I'm in this instance where all the other enemies are like 4 levels lower than me. They're not going to give me that XP. So it's like, look, I could keep this whole stream locked here for 2 hours, or I could just swap it to normal mode and get on with the stream. So that's what I did. And the difference between normal and hard is ridiculous. Like, that is the one complaint I will give this game. I think hard mode is way too severe. There's no reason the chapter 2 boss should take me 25 minutes and then I can clear the same boss in 3 minutes on normal. Like, that is insane. But streaming the game was definitely a joy. A lot of early interactions were really cool to see. And then just being able to go back to the game, but also streaming the chapter 5, chapter 6 situation for 8 hours, and then streaming the finale of the game for 10 hours, going till 5 in the morning was insane, and it's still a bunch of core memories for me. All right, I'm gonna let you guys speak though.
That's all good. What you got, Nishquik?
I have a lot of stories about this game, pre-release, during release, after release. I actually remember actually one of my other Xeno friends, his channel is called Imperfect Works. He did a live stream on the day of the anniversary, and I hopped on that podcast for a little bit. I hopped on the Discord VC, and I was talking about some of my memories and stories about this game. So I'll share some of those anecdotes because I have a lot. So this game was announced, if you guys remember, it was announced February 2022 at that Nintendo Direct. And before that, there was some leaks about like, hey, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is happening, like the next game in the Xenoblade series is happening. Returning characters will be there. It'll be a combination of the two worlds, and everyone kind of assumed that was going to happen. But basically, we had that leak in late 2021, and we were anticipating like Xenoblade 3, when's it coming? And then this February Direct was announced, and I was doing an internship like close by to where I live. And it was like a 9-to-5 internship. I couldn't come back home early or anything. So the Direct was announced, and I was like, okay, this is like, hopefully Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to be here. Hopefully. And then I went to bed that night, and I had a dream of the trailer. And literally, hear me out. This is what happened in the dream. The dream was the trailer. The dream was the trailer, which I don't remember, but I remember the end of the trailer. And the end of the trailer was 2 characters who like hold out their hand, and they tell this faceless protagonist who I didn't know. They hold out their hand in this grassy field with a like blue sky or whatever. And they're like, let's go on this adventure together. And then it pans up and it shows that it's like adult, grown-up Melia and Nia. And I was like, oh my god, what if that happens? And then I saw the trailer the next day, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually in the game, but they're evil. And I was like, whoa. But then I won't talk about this too much, but flash forward to when I beat the game, that vision from my dream was sort of still in the game at the very end, and I was kind of like mind blown that like it's not that I predicted that, but it was still like sort of there.
Yeah.
So that's one really cool thing that I remember. The day of release was crazy because just like Yggdrasil, I managed to get the CE, but it didn't come in on time, and I wanted to play the game day one. Like I wanted to play it the second that it dropped. I waited so long for this. I had anticipated so much. I had hyped up so much, and I was like, I need to play this on the day of. So I double dipped and I got it digitally. I just waited for my physical version to come in, which came in like a week and a half later. So I started it, and I started it Thursday night, and then I took off from work on Friday, and I just binged it the whole weekend. And by the end of the weekend, I finished chapter 3. I'd put in like 25 to 30 hours in the game. I'd finished chapter 3. I completed the Colony Lambda mission, and I saw Zed for the first time, and then I ended the story there. And then I continued from then on. But there is that, and are we good to talk about spoilers now, or are we going to get into that a little later? If we were going to get into that a little later, then I'll talk about some spoiler stuff a little later, probably.
Yeah, I guess we can get to it a little later when we talk.
Okay, yeah.
To the story, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll talk about some spoiler stuff later. But just like Yggdrasil, this game kick-started me into like taking YouTube seriously. My Xenoblade 3 review that I did September 2022 was the first video that hit 1,000 views on my channel, and it was the first video which got me to reach the milestone of 100 subscribers. I remember when I hit that milestone, Yggdrasil DM'd me. He's like, "Hey, congrats on 100. Many more to come." And I was like, "Oh, dang, the Yggdrasil guy is like congratulating."
What are you talking about? If you had 100, I maybe had like 105 at that point.
Yeah.
Like I was just as small, and I'm smaller than you now. Look at you go.
Yeah,
we're on the same level, honestly. But like, I remember December of that year, 2022, was the first time I collabed with Yggdrasil on my channel, where we just did a general Xenoblade discussion about all 3 games and what we thought of them pre-Future Redeemed. Before, like, we had some DLC predictions, but those before that. But my thoughts on the game overall: it is one of my favorite video games of all time. It's a very personal video game to me. It means a lot to me personally. I actually made a video on my channel about how personal this game is, how much it changed my life and impacted me personally. And I didn't immediately understand that when I first beat the game, but that's what always happens with Xenoblade for me. Like, I played the game once and I'm just like, oh, whatever. It's good. It's good story. Love the characters. Love the game. But then the months after, the days, weeks, months, years after, I am like, it hits me so much harder, and especially Xenoblade 2 and 3. Like, Xenoblade 2 hit me hard in the moment, but looking back at it now, it is such a cherished experience. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 hit me hard, of course, in the moment, but many years later, now that it's 3 years later, I have matured, I have grown, I've experienced so much more in the past 3 years. There is so much more that this game means to me, and it's great. It's great. I love it. And gameplay wise, it's peak. Combat wise, it's peak. Characters, amazing. Story, amazing. Like, there are things this game may not do as well as the other games, and I can understand that. I remember when this game first came out and people had criticisms for it, I was like, on damage control, I was like, no, it's the best one. You can't say anything about it. It's so much better than Xenoblade 2. It's so much better than 1. But now I'm like understanding, like, okay, like, I understand some parts of the story were rushed, some parts of this were a little weird, like, some of the character interactions were a little bit better in the other games. Not that they weren't good in 3, but you always kind of, like, compare. And a lot of people did it very negatively by putting Xenoblade 3 down, but other people were like, oh, I prefer this to the other games. Xenoblade 3 did this better in other ways. So, like, that's the beauty of the series. And that's what people are really experiencing now with X. The people going into X expecting a Cloud game are insanely disappointed, and I kept telling them, do not think that, do not go into it thinking that.
That was my very first X
Xenoblade
video.
game, but it's not one of these other Xenoblade games. And that's the same thing with any of the numbered ones. If you go into 2 thinking it's going to be 1, you're going to be disappointed. If you're going into 3 thinking it's going to be like 2, you may be disappointed. But you feel the parallels, you feel the connecting tissue, and to me personally, 3 is just the most consistent experience overall, and I think it is still going to be in the end my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. Like everything you guys said. Like overall, just absolutely love the game. One of my favorites of all time, and just that year, just remember just playing it, and just so many moments where having my jaw dropped or my heart broken. Like I'm not one where like there really hasn't been too many games or any games that have like made me like cry like that, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was definitely one of those that it made me like made me feel some things.
2 and 3 are the ones that made me the most emotional. Like there are specific moments I can recall in 2 where I actually shed tears, and 3 as well. And I don't know about you guys, but this happens for me. If I rewatch the cutscenes, I will get more emotional than I did in the actual moment. Because in the actual moment, I'm taking it all in. I'm like, oh, let me like actually take this in. But then when you go back and rewatch it, that's when I've reflected on it. I've embraced the moment. I've thought about it. I've made connections to my life, and then it hits me. So that's what happens, particularly for me in both games. Even 1 hits me very hard emotionally as well. But I relate more to the story and characters of 2 and 3 a little bit.
For me, it's the music. When I don't need to watch the video, I just need to like, I don't know why. Sometimes I want to have a cry in the car on the way home, and One Last You is recommended, and I was like, shoot, and I click that, and I just sit there driving at it's the red light, and I'm just stopped, and I'm just like really honed in on what the music's telling me. And then I think back on the game, and I think on the characters, I think the elements, what the story is trying to tell you, what the premise is, and I'm just like, it's a little foggy in the foggy rearview mirror. I'm just put it that way.
One of our me and Yggdrasil's friends, protagonist, he described it the best with "Where We Belong." That's a insanely emotional song, and that absolutely. Like we'll talk about that spoilers later. But the way they did that moment it's incredible. Like that song plus the moment plus what's going on, it's just it's incredible what they did. And you can't listen to that song without tearing up.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that later. But that's one of those moments in a game or any piece of media that like that's gonna like stick with me like for forever, pretty much. But like one of my favorite things from that launch year when like a lot of people were all playing it at the same time, it was like really cool. Like it was like almost like every couple weeks or so, or every couple of days on Twitter, you would see chapter 1 trending, chapter 2 trending, and just like seeing like how almost chapter everybody was
trending for so long. And I remember everyone was like, you guys need to get to chapter 5, and I was like, what? Like what's going on? Like I'll say this. Chapter 5, I remember it was either a Friday or a Saturday night, because I know I very much slept in that day. But it was either a Friday or Saturday night. I did Triton and Fiona's quest, because they're in the Cadencia region. They're in that ocean area. So I did both of those. 2 very like meaty quests. They're relatively long quests. And then I made the decision to be like, hey, I'll continue the story. I'll go towards the castle. And I go and I do the thing, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of boring. Let's get to like the good part. And then I get to the good part, and I'm like, okay, I can't stop now. And then I keep going, and then cutscene. And then I get to the part where like everyone's jaw drops, and I'm like, holy shit, it's like 1:30 in the morning. I'm gonna take my Switch, I'll take it off the dock, I'll go like sit in bed while continuing the rest of this part. And then I don't go to bed till like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, wow, I need to like think about this, but no, I need to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is there a third movie in my Xenoblade? Because by that point you've already watched like 4 or 5 movies in that thing.
Yeah.
Like chapter 1's a movie on its
Typical
own.
Monolith Soft experience.
Yeah.
I
No, the
want more
whole
movies, man. I want more of that.
the
You'll
whole
get it in
game is a
Xenogears
movie.
Disc 2.
Nice. And then like overall, like the combat system is probably like that plus Future Redeem, they perfected it.
Future Dean was
But
so good with the combat.
yeah, the combat system is like my overall favorite, and like you said, it does like you just look at it and yeah, it looks complicated, but I think that they did a great job of like spacing out the mechanics, introducing them little bit by little bit, so that you can like really have a grasp on everything, and everything just like it made sense as you progress through the game.
You know what's cool, and what I really appreciated is the whole game, Xenoblade 3, is about the combined worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2, and you see that in the gameplay as well. And I love when Monolith Soft and like Nintendo is very good at that. Like in their Zelda games and their Xenoblade games and their like a lot of their tentpole franchises, they incorporate narrative elements in their gameplay, and you see this perfectly with 3. The combat is literally Kevis plays like Xenoblade 1. The arts recharge like Xenoblade 1. Agnes plays like Xenoblade 2, where their arts recharge like Xenoblade 2. And the flow of combat is more aligned with Xenoblade 2, but there's a lot of mechanics that they brought in from Xenoblade 1. And then they also have the combo tree from Xenoblade 1 with burst and days and burst. And they have the combo loop from Xenoblade 2 with launch and smash, which was very cool how they did that. But then another thing that I really liked is the upgrading system was generally more like 2, but they brought in gems from Xenoblade 1 and accessories from Xenoblade 2. So you have a little bit of that mixing and matching of both worlds within the gameplay as well. And then the classes and the heroes are their own thing. I think that's very similar to how they did it in X, which is very cool because another quick anecdote. Before I started playing Xenoblade 3, I played 1, 2, and Future Connected, but I had my copy of Xenoblade X on Wii U, and one of my friends is like a big X super fan. He's like, hey, you should, like, he was watching, of course, he was really hyped for 3. He was watching the pre-release content. He was like, hey, you should maybe play like a couple of chapters of X before you start 3, just to kind of understand what X is and what 3 is doing to build off of that, because he was noticing a lot of things that 3 was doing that were from X. And I initially understood it, but when I continued X on Wii U after I beat 3, I was like, they took all these like things, like they took the classes from X, the character swapping from X, the exploration from X, and they evolved it so much into 3. And it's so crazy how they just build off of their games and they take inspiration from their older things as well. So that's cool in a gameplay sense.
Yeah, Monolith, they're the masters of doing that, taking everything that they've learned from each previous game and putting that into their next game, and like just all the lessons that they've learned from those.
They at this point they might be my favorite video game development team. I think they have I think they have surpassed the Zelda team.
Really?
With in terms of what I'm looking for currently now.
Yeah.
I still love Zelda a lot. You guys know that, but with what games I currently gravitate to now, Monolith Soft is giving me what I want. And especially even from like their earlier stuff as well. I've been delving into some of their back catalog, which I need to do more of.
Nice. That definitely has me interested in one question that we have that's going to be coming up later on. So make sure you all stick around to find out what that question just might be when we talk about maybe what are some of our favorite Nintendo franchises. But so I'm gonna want to ask how you got into Xenoblade and what was your first game in the series. But before we go go any further, just want to make sure everybody knows that I'm going to have Nishquik's and Yggdrasil's channels in the comments. So definitely go and give them a follow. And I'm going to have a couple of their videos linked in there as well. So check out their Xenoblade discussions there. But what was your first Xenoblade and how did you get into the series?
I'll let Nishquik go first because he let me go first this time.
I wasn't ready. I will start because I have sort of like a video about this, which I recently did. It was in honor of the 5-year anniversary of Xenoblade DE. So I've always known about Xenoblade ever since I was like a kid. When I was in middle school, when Operation Rainfall was happening, I was like, what the heck is this? Like, why are people... I didn't understand it because I was a kid. All I cared about was Zelda, Mario, and Pokemon, and Sonic, and that's it in video games. That's all I played, and that's all I cared about. So when I saw, like, I would always go on IGN at that time because Skyward Sword was coming out. That's how I got my Skyward Sword news. So I would always go on there, and I would see Operation Rainfall, Xenoblade Chronicles, Last Story, Pandora's Tower. So the only thing I knew about Xenoblade Chronicles was Operation Rainfall. These people wanted it to come to the West. I was kind of clueless as to what was going on because I was a kid. And I just knew Xenoblade Chronicles, the red sword, and the grass. That's all I knew. Yeah. And then flash forward a few years later, Shulk is announced for Smash. And I was like, oh, that's the Xenoblade guy. And I just knew him as the goofy, shirtless guy from Smash who makes jokes and he's British and all that. And I was like, oh, his sword is cool. It looks like a lightsaber and it can tell the future and all that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
he's
all
really
I knew.
Feeling it.
Yeah, that's all I knew. I knew I'm really feeling it memes and all that. Yeah. So that's all I knew. And then what happened out? Oh, yeah, and then later, I saw trailers for Xenoblade X. I saw trailers for Xenoblade 2. I just wasn't really sold on it. I don't know why. I feel like I would have vibed with those games even back then. I didn't even have very many friends who were playing it back then. That Xenoblade X friend I mentioned earlier, he was playing Xenoblade X at that time because he was very excited for it. He liked the mechs and stuff, so he played it. But for me, I didn't really get into the series until my cousin, who, if you go watch my Xenoblade 1 anniversary video, my cousin makes an appearance in that. And he texted me one day. He's like, hey, Xenoblade 1 is getting a remaster. You should play it. And I remember him playing it during high school. And he was always trying to get me into it. And I'm like, no, not interested. And he was like, hey, this is your chance. It's coming to the Switch. You got to give it a shot. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then that other Xenoblade X friend, this was during the pandemic, so like we were like slowly kind of like reconnecting after so long. He was like, hey, yeah, Xenoblade 1 is coming. You want to give it a shot? And I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And then on a whim, I got it. And I played it initially, and it captured me, but it was like I wouldn't say I was new to JRPGs, but the only JRPGs I was very familiar with were Pokemon, Fire Emblem, and Final Fantasy VII, and that was it. This was my first legitimately like massive JRPG, so it was a little overwhelming for me. The combat was a little overwhelming. I was like, am I doing any of this right? I don't know what I'm doing. The story was grander than I expected, so I had to like take it very slowly. And people don't know this, but this is kind of crazy lore. Like when I got to Agniratha, which is near the end of Xenoblade 1, I took a massive break because that was also during the time the PS5 came out. I also got into the Persona series. I played Persona 4 and Persona 5, so it took time away from that. So I eventually went back to Xenoblade 1. I beat it, and when I beat it, I was like sold. I remember my jaw was on the floor. I was blown away. I was like, I just didn't know what to expect. And I remember saying, I'm sold on Xenoblade X. It looks like a very interesting game, open world mechs. But I was hesitant on Xenoblade 2 because I was like, anime, and people don't like it, and people say it's not as good as 1. And I was hesitant to get into Xenoblade 2. But I was kind of curious. I was like, are these two games connected? Basically, I kind of spoiled myself on how they're connected, and when I found out how they're connected, that's when I got into the series, and I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. I want to experience this myself. And then I ended up loving Xenoblade 2. I formed a very close love for that game, and then the rest is history. I think around the time of after I beat Xenoblade 2 is when I started Nishquikpops. No. It was even before I started Xenoblade 2 is when I started the channel, I think. So Xenoblade has been around for a while now. I got into the series much later than most people. Like, Yggdrasiel has been playing for a very long time now. A lot of my other friends have been playing way longer than I have. I've only been a fan for 5 years, so I'm still relatively new, but it's never too late to get into the series. You can see a lot of people on YouTube, on Twitter right now are live tweeting their experience with all the games. My favorite one to watch is King Recon,
it's been awesome following
the One
that.
Piece and Trails guy.
They
I was
just
always
finished.
like, when is he gonna play Xenoblade? Because I was like, this guy likes One Piece, this guy likes Shonen and Trails and all this stuff. When is he gonna play Xenoblade? And he's finally done it. And he has played Xenogears, and hearing his listening to his videos and equating what he sees in 2 and 3 to Xenogears makes me very happy. Which I'll talk about that later. But that's a little bit about me. What do you think, Egg? Or what is your story?
All right. So I'm not quite a Operation Rainfall man. Like, I knew what it was at the time, but I didn't really follow it all too much. Like, I hadn't really heard about what Operation Rainfall was by the time I got to play Xenoblade Chronicles 1 for the first time. After then, I saw, after I was just in love with Xenoblade 1, and after I finished it, then I heard about the efforts it took for that game to come out to the West. And by that point, I was invested and tried to spread the word out when Operation Rainfall then wanted to bring other games into the mix for the Western audiences. So picture this early 2012, a few months after Xenoblade Chronicles came to America. I'm at a friend's birthday party and we play Smash Brothers. We play Kirby Air Ride. We hit up all the stuff we usually hit up on the Wii at the time. And then friends start dipping because it's getting late. And he's like, hey, I know you're an RPG guy. I know you like Tales games like me and my friend, we would talk about all the Tales games at the time. And he's like, look, I know you're a big RPG guy. I got this one game that literally just released a few months ago. Barely anyone's heard about it. I think you'd really like it. So the setup is still in the garage. We still got some cold pizza. We've hit it up. And he shows me this game. And I didn't know the name of it at the time. All I saw was 2 giant titans clashing it out. And then suddenly we're on their corpses. And it's like man versus machine. The music is hitting, and then it fast forwards, and basically I played all of Xenoblade 1 right up to the events of the Colony 9 situation. And just to see all of that and then get left on, okay, your parents are here, go on by. And it's like, well, what can I play? It's like, no, it's my copy. I know, we blitzed through, and I'm just like, because he wanted me to see it. He wanted me to get that hook, and then I'm like, well, what can I play? He's like, can I take it home? And it's like, no, I'm still playing the game myself. Get your own copy. And I was like, shoot. So for the next week and a half, I was on a mission to find this game, and I finally found it, and I just blitzed on through. And that was the thing. I did have a tiny little bit of a lull. Funny enough, when I first played that game, I had a tiny bit of the lull after the events of Era C, where I don't know why I dropped the game for 2-3 weeks. And then
that was me with Agniratha. But yours is a better place to stop than Agniratha, because Agniratha is where all the good shit happens.
It's where all the good stuff happens, right? But then I came on back, and then I just blitzed on through, and then I was hooked. I was making fan theories in my senior year notebooks that my teachers were looking at. It's like wow, you're looking at themes and philosophies and motifs. What's got you this hooked? Oh, it's a video game. Never mind. I thought maybe my life's work meant something for a second. But since then, I've been hooked. I've been sold, and to see not only the games evolve, Monolith Soft evolve as a company, to see that incorporated in other games, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, I'm a lifelong Xenoblade fan. I've you know, I mean, me and you, we're some of the older people in the community. It's weird a little weird to see a large part of the community is like 20 somethings, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, man, go and experience all these games like all over again, because probably by your age now you're gonna have a whole different appreciation for some of these games compared to when they first experienced it.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, so they earned me a lifelong fan with that.
Nice. But yeah, so yeah, as you referenced, have a little bit more of a age gap here. I think I got 10 years on you, and I probably guess I got about what 15 or so on you, Nishquick. um, so yeah,
Age is
I
just
was
a number.
exactly. so
Yeah,
so I was there for Operation Rainfall. But it's funny because I was there for it. I was like in the message boards. I was like on the IGN message board chats talking about it. But the game that got me for Operation Rainfall was actually Last Story. That was the one.
Hey, there we go. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get this one to play it, man. I'm trying to get
I
him.
will eventually. I have my methods of playing it. So.
Like this guy likes motifs, this guy likes themes. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sakaguchi
I like
is
Final
gonna
Fantasy.
go for you,
That's
man.
that's a good enough
Yeah.
reason for me to play it because it's Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu, so that's good
Yeah.
enough for me.
That's one that I'm desperately hoping for, like a remaster or something
Every
like that to
day.
show up.
Every day.
Um,
Like, yeah, Pandora's Tower, sure. I
yeah,
love it. I
I
love it
had
when
that
I
one
see it.
too.
I got them all. And I'm just
Yeah,
like, I love it when I see it. But Last Story has my heart and my soul,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So that was
That's
the one that
great.
had me. So I didn't get into Xenoblade right away. It wasn't until the pandemic, so that's how
Hmm.
long it took me to actually get into the game. Because initially, like with seeing the original Xenoblade, and then with seeing Xenoblade 2, as we kind of mentioned with 3, just initially seeing it, just looked like there's just so much going on, and it looked like way more complicated than I wanted to get into at the time. Um, but then I think when Torna was coming out, I remember
Okay.
hearing that one was a little bit more simplified combat to get into versus 2. So like, all right, I'll check this one out, and I remember playing it on the airplane coming back home from
Oh,
Christmas
Torno is your first
vacation.
Xenoblade game?
Yeah,
That's a very
Wow.
interesting place to start, but from a gameplay point of view, it
It
is
yeah,
a
makes
good
sense.
warm up
It's a good
to
one.
get
yeah,
an idea of what
yeah.
Xenoblade combat is about.
And it was
That,
because of the
that's interesting.
gameplay. Yeah, it was because of the gameplay that I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance finally.
Okay.
But I didn't finish it, so I played a few hours of it. It was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty cool, but I didn't stay with it.
You're
Um,
also probably confused on things going on in the story with it being a prequel.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But
Um,
that's cool. You got the prequel experience, a bit of the prequel experience before playing Xenoblade 2. That's cool.
yeah, and so when I think was it 2019 in that Nintendo Direct when they announced the definitive edition
Yeah.
for Xenoblade
Hmm.
Chronicles, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this series a chance when this comes out, and I'm gonna get into that game. So when Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition came out, I dropped the Final Fantasy VII remake to get into
I
that game.
I remember there was a toss up between which remake is better, Xenoblade 1 or FF7 remake. I
Yeah,
remember that discussion going
yeah.
around in the JRPG community.
Yeah, and like I love the 7 remake, but yeah, Xenoblade took my heart during that time. It was like it was not that the pandemic wasn't great, but Xenoblade was a great game to have during that to be able to
Hmm.
get sucked
Yeah.
into that world, sucked into that story. So after I finished that, it was like, okay, I'm down with the combat system now. I love this game. All right, I guess let me go ahead and give two a shot, and then I started playing that, and so that was how I got into it. So by the time they announced Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I was all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but so we did talk about we kind of mentioned it, what Xenoblade Chronicles 3 means to you guys, especially what it's meant for your channels and all of that. But just a little bit more, what does Xenoblade Chronicles 3 mean to you?
Oh boy. That is a detailed question. I guess I'll start. I talked about this again recently on one of my videos. I hate to always refer to my videos, but a lot of this is fresh in my mind because I just mentioned it recently with some of those things. So, but initially, like when I played the game was all just about like the importance of the things around you. Don't take things for granted. Don't take your relationships, the people around you, the things around you, life in general. Don't take it for granted. But I still think that that's a very powerful message that the game is giving you. But when I looked at it a little bit deeper, and then when I played Future Redeemed, and then when I look back at the rest of the series before, it's all about Ouroboros and Mobius, and it is a culmination game. Xenoblade 3 is a culmination game, and I still feel like all of these games are telling the story of Ouroboros and Mobius, and it just comes to a very tangible conclusion in Xenoblade 3 because it is like the conclusion of the Klaus saga or the Klaus story, and you have the two factions that play Ouroboros and Mobius, but they are symbolic of the journey that the Xenoblade 1 party with Shulk and the Xenoblade 2 party with Rex are fighting for and fighting against. And Mobius made me think of like times in my life where I was either lost or confused or stagnating, or maybe I was trying so hard to reach a goal, but I just wasn't getting there. I just was always failing and failing, and I had to like pick myself back up over and over again. And I'm like, and you just get tired, you get defeated, you feel you just feel those Mobius feelings creeping in. So when I saw that represented with N, I was very intrigued. I was like, wow, so this is what can happen if you just give up. This could happen if you just like say that it's over. I don't care anymore. I'm not gonna like pursue this goal again. But you have the other side. Like you have Noah as well, who is the optimistic side. And I just love the fact that for Noah to grow in the story, he has to acknowledge that he very well could, in that present in point in the game, he could still very much have become Mobius and done what N has done. I'm going into like slightly more detailed story stuff here, but like that's what really like hit me with the game, and I really resonated with that. I love the characters a lot. I feel like I always say 2 and 3 are the most relatable characters. I think 3 is the most down to earth cast. They are very, very well written. They're very well presented in this world. Their struggles are real. They're just like very. The craziest thing about the Xenoblade 3 party is, in a lot of these JRPGs, you want your party to have like really extensive backstories. That's what a lot of people did not like about Xenoblade 1. I know a lot of criticism is like Xenoblade 1 party is very likable, but they're just kind of there. They're just kind of like, oh, this character is cool, but we're just gonna put him here. And some of them don't have like backstories or as fleshed out reasons for going on this adventure as some characters in Xenoblade 2, because like Rex, Nia, Pyramithra, Zeke, Morag, all of them have a past, Tora even, which sets them on this journey to go to Elysium. Like a very like prominent motivation for them to come with Rex. Xenoblade 3 doesn't have that because they are soldiers and they're in this like endless Kevis versus Agnes war. But that is enough. That's all you need. That premise is all you need for these characters. And the fact that those 6 particular ones are the ones that break free of this mindset and break free of this curse is all you need for them to stand out in the world and for them to develop and grow as characters. And I thought that was very, very well done. The romance with Noah and Mio is very well done. Each of the pairings of the Ouroboros pairings were done very well. Like some of them were more romantic, some were more platonic, but they were like they covered each other's weaknesses and strengths in a way, you know? Like, I really like that, and it made for very good Ouroboros pairings. And I played this game. I loved it. I resonated with it. I will say we will probably get into more spoiler stuff later, but what I'll say right now is one criticism that this game has is some of the story is a bit rushed, some of the lore is not as well explained, and some things are left a little up in the air, some things are left for interpretation even after Future Redeemed. And we had to like really dig into the dialogue and the imagery and the lore and the mechanisms of the universe and the stuff like that. And then Takahashi had to come out in an interview and clarify some things in the Ionios Moments art book. I wasn't very much upset about that, but I also kind of enjoyed that. I kind of liked it because it gave a focus to the message that the story was trying to tell. And I still really like that the lore that was set up in 3 with a lot of the connections and the world stuff going on, which we may or may not talk about a little later. It made sense in the context, and it makes sense for what I feel is also coming in the future as well. So I'll just leave it at that. So that's yeah. I rambled on for a while.
It's all good. But kind of with what you said there, I think with the lore and all of that, I think that's what makes this one of the entries in the series where, yes, I definitely think that everybody should start with 1, but I think because of those reasons, it's one of the you could start with 3 and you could just fully enjoy the story that is telling you without knowing all of how everything connects to it, and then you could just enjoy that story. But obviously you would get so much more having played through the first 2.
I have a friend who played Xenoblade 1 and played Xenoblade X. He doesn't really feel like playing Xenoblade 2, so I'm telling him at least watch a recap or watch the cutscenes, but he's willing to play Xenoblade 3. Because I'm like, hey, you need a little bit of context for 2 before 3, so at least like watch a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do agree.
For 2 even more than 1 for 3.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 2 is. I argue that I don't want to say too much about this, but 2 is arguably the most important game in the series lore-wise. Not arguably, I think it is the most important game in the series lore-wise because of all the things it sets up with, not just the connections, but the very core of the laws of the universe. And that's what I love about Xenoblade so much is when you understand the laws of the universe in 2, when you understand the laws of the universe in 3 and in the other games as well, a lot of things just start to make more sense. And a lot of that stuff is not done exactly the same in his older games, but what I'll say is a lot of the themes and the symbolism and the real world connections of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 are heavily, even more prominent in Xenogears. And when I played Xenogears and kind of made parallels to the other games, I was very impressed with how far he has come, Takahashi himself, and his storytelling capability and all that.
Yeah. But what about you, Yggdrasiel? What does it mean to you?
So when I think of let's put it this way with the numbered games. When I think of Xenoblade 1 and I think about the very core message or like the very core theme of the game, Xenoblade 1 is a story of a revenge turned into understanding or seeking to understand. When I think of Xenoblade 2, I think of the 2 tropes of coming of age for Rex, as well as boy meets girl. When I think of Xenoblade 3, the core theme I think of is overcoming prejudice.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 factions, and this is one thing I always praise Xenoblade 3 on, is its use of propaganda. The way like they talk about the other people and they fashion people from like the ground up essentially as as newborns, and they fashion these soldiers year on year out, of just like, oh, that's the enemy. These people, they kill your brothers and your sisters. They want you to die. Like, they feast off of your life, and like, just like, these people from the moment they're born are just instilled with that. And it's one thing that I will always appreciate is, even though nearly from the get-go, your two groups are working hand in hand, they're not doing so all too willingly at the start. They make a very poignant choice of like saying like, no, like, we're not doing this, and then like they reluctantly have to join together at the start. And for those first few chapters, like, they're still trying to see eye to eye. Like, Lance especially is like, it's like, no, I'm not working with these guys. Like,
Lance is very. I was thinking about this the other day. Lance is the most like anti-opposing side of them, and then you see him at the end of the game, and he is so drastically changed for the better, obviously. But
that's
like,
why I love Lance and Tyon's partnership the most out of like anyone, because Lance is like, screw this, like, wimpy nerd, like, I should kill him on the spot. And then like at the very end of the game, he's like, that's my brother right there. like he wears his face, like, he wears everything on his face proudly. And like, he's the perfect representative. He's like perfect viewpoint to see like the transition the characters go through with overcoming prejudice and boundaries. But it's more than that as well, because, you know, ultimately, like, the goal of at each Xenoblade game, the goal of each game is overcoming our odds, overcoming our differences, and working hand in hand. That's been the core message of the game as a series since Xenoblade 1. All
walking towards the
people in
future
life,
hand in hand, as Elvis says.
And that is very pronounced in the idea of these worlds coming together. Different viewpoints, different ideologies, born differently, trained to think differently. Yet here they are working together as Ouroboros. Yeah, Mobius works too, though not in the way we prefer. They work together as Ouroboros to overcome people that would put them down, to overcome a world that would unjustly see them pitted against one another, when they should be working towards a goal together for the sake of not only themselves but for one another. And that's, you know, it's a theme I think unfortunately is lost in the fan base all too often.
Unfortunately, yeah.
More recently, unfortunately, than ever before.
Yeah, when you see splits in the fan base, when you see infighting within the fan base, I'm like, do you guys like play this game with your eyes closed, with your ears blocked? Like, what do you get from this? What do you get from this story?
Takahashi would be so disappointed right now.
Oh, 100%. He'd be like, I don't accept these people. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just the product of online discourse, but yeah, I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, Yggdrasiel.
Yeah.
So that's where my core theme of that's what that game means to me. Is just, I look at that game and it just oozes like, check up on your people, like, check up on your boys, check up on your family, check up on everyone. Just, you know, show them you're there, talk with them, see what their view is, and if something needs to change, you got to make that change. You got to take that step. You got to walk on.
Yeah, that was definitely just put so very, very eloquently. That was really good. And like I said, it for me, it's like, it's all the life lessons that you can take from it, with a lot of, you know, what both of you guys said, and just seeing their journey and learning about love, both on the romantic side and on the platonic side, and learning to love someone that you thought was supposed to be your enemy, but like, wait, why are we enemies? And oh wait, that's the real enemy there. And then just having that hope, learning to have hope for the future and to fight for that, and that we have choices. We have choices, and we can choose that we don't need to continue going down one path that we are going down, and we can make a change, and we can make a pivot. And why are we doing the things that we are doing, and wrestling with that inner darkness that we have, and breaking the cycle. It's just so many good things in the game that just really resonates with you, especially as you go through different seasons of your life, and as you're seeing different things going on in the world. And for me, it was like one that like resonated with me so much that my wife could see how much it meant to me, and how passionate I was about it, to where I think I showed it on Twitter before, and I don't have the shoes at hand right now, but she saw how much it meant for me, and she made me some special Air Force Ones that were Xenoblade Chronicles themed.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
So yeah, just a really special game. And before we start getting into some spoiler territory here, because I think we've given the people a good hour of discussion without spoiling things. But before we start getting into that territory, is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 your favorite Xenoblade Chronicles game?
This is a loaded question.
It's hard to approach this, because if you just hand this to me, it's so hard, because I'm just like, well, Xenoblade 1 has like my favorite, like world building, or like world design, and like Xenoblade 2's got my favorite music, and like Xenoblade 3, when I think of what is my favorite stuff out of Xenoblade 3, out of the numbered games, because Xenoblade X just brought a whole crap load of quality of life to the table. But when I think about just the numbered games as a whole, Xenoblade 3 at that point had my favorite quality of life, had my some of my more favorite customization options. And when I look at the character growth, when I look at the overall world building, when I look at the incorporation of the way that how they express the game through the music, like that just hits for me in a way that Xenoblade 1 doesn't quite hit with its characters. Unfortunately, like the camera is more focused around Shulk, maybe some Melia here, maybe some other character here. And then Xenoblade 2, it's like, the spotlight's on Rex, Pyra, Mythra more than anyone. And like some of the other characters, unfortunately, like I would like to see more Morag. I would like to see more Zeke and Pandoria, but we don't quite get that. Xenoblade 3 shines because you have the full cast for that the whole time. They don't really split up all too often. They like have to work around things together because they need one another, and then that leads to all these like surprising moments of character growth, both as a team and individually. Sorry for that. Both individually and as a team. And like when I think of the way I want Monolith Soft to express their characters in the future, I look at Xenoblade 3 as like that goalpost, and I know they're gonna keep working up with what they've lessons they've learned from. So that makes me all the more happy to see. All that's to say, I simply can't say. I simply can't pick. Like, yeah, it's got to be up there, but I mean, all these games just have such an emotional attachment with me personally that
it's
just
a very
can't really
consistent
pick.
series in terms of quality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like if I do pick like if Xenoblade 3 is here, like it's not like Xenoblade 2 is all the way down here. No, they're like scrunched up together. They're like stacked on top of one another. For me as a whole, when I have to be really objective and look at every single facet of each part of the game, Xenoblade 3 is going to be right there. It's there.
Yeah.
There's some things I wish were just the tiniest little bit like more like 1, more like 2. And like, but that's something everyone's going to have to deal with. But the whole package, like it's there, man.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. Like, you're going to always compare it to the other games. Some other games did other things better. Like, I think Xenoblade 1 had probably a better world design than any of the other games. I think Xenoblade X has the better gameplay loop and exploration than any of the other games. Xenoblade 2 has my favorite OST. my favorite emotional moments in the game. But like Yggdrasil was saying and I was saying earlier, 3 is just a consistent experience overall.
Yeah.
I think with the 4 Xenoblade games, it is my favorite. I say this, and I've said this in other videos before. Xenoblade 3 has every single thing that I look for in a video game, and it is very nicely balanced. Like, my favorite games are the ones that are usually for the most part, are the ones that are very nicely balanced when it comes to like gameplay, combat, characters, story, and music. Like those are the things I usually look for. And if it's usually like very nicely balanced within that gameplay experience or that video game experience, then it'll be like a top tier amazing game for me.
Yeah.
There are some games that I played which are some of my favorites where the gameplay is like heavily prioritized, stories like there but it's not as much there.
Yeah.
But there's still like a favorite game of mine or some of my favorite games. But if a game usually does that, then I'm like, oh, I'm always wishing for that story to be on the same level as the gameplay. And that's what Xenoblade 3 does. The story is probably the focus of this game, like it is for all the other games, but the gameplay is no backseat. And that's what I love about Monolith Soft. They never nothing in their games are backseat. People will say that about X. Oh, story is backseat. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But I also don't believe it. But they're so consistent. And even with X, gameplay is sort of prioritized, but they don't skip out on the story. They don't like cut corners. I mean, they cut corners sometimes. They do, but they still go the extra mile with the lore and all that stuff. But with 3.
Yeah.
They are the most consistent. They're the most well-rounded. It's a very like, it's just a very good package overall. Great OST, great story, great characters. It's all there. It is my favorite Xenoblade game. Is it my favorite Xeno game? That is a very tough question because I keep telling this to people, and this is a very big statement that I'm making, and people don't understand it unless they played this game or until they are playing the game. But then they got to form their own opinion. They're never gonna like have this connection with this game that I do. But I always say if Xenogears was a complete game, if Disc 2 was complete, it would probably be my favorite video game of all time. It would beat Ocarina of Time. It would beat Majora's Mask. It would beat Xenoblade 3. And that's how much this like Xenogears has a lot of parallels to especially Xenoblade 2 and 3, but it is more mature, it is more detailed, it is more heavy. There's so much more happening in that game, not even in terms of plot and characters, but in terms of like psychological, religious, and social and political like messages it's trying to tell you. So in that way, I think the story and writing and message and like the impact that Xenogears had on me is probably even more than Xenoblade 3. And that's such a crazy statement to make. Yeah. But Xenogears is a very personal experience, just like how Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 were. But Xenogears is very, very personal to me. And also, that's just how I resonated with the game. But I still think in the end, Xenoblade 3 is a better overall experience because the game is complete. It's a well-rounded experience. It's a well-rounded game. Xenogears is I love it. I look past a lot of the issues, but it has cracks. It is very symbolically a fragmented experience, but it is very literally a fragmented experience as well. So in that way, I have to be a little bit more of like Xenoblade 3 still takes the cake. But I always bring Xenogears into this conversation because after playing Gears and once I start playing Saga, I don't see Xenoblade as just Xenoblade anymore. And that's not just because of like things that they may or may not be setting up or what we may or may not have seen in Future Redeemed. It's not just that. It's just the grander scope of Takahashi's perfect work story and the message he's trying to tell. So
Yeah, no, I definitely I feel you there. I definitely have to say for me, like for me without a doubt, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my favorite one. I love the whole series as a whole. This for me is my favorite trilogy in all of gaming, and maybe one of my favorite trilogies in any piece of media. Period.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like as we said, there might be something that Xenoblade, the original Xenoblade Chronicles, does better than 3, or that 2 does better than 3. But it's almost like not fair, as we kind of talked about earlier, that Monolith Soft takes all the lessons that they've learned from every previous game. They take all the criticisms and they fix it in their each successive game. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and then when you add in Future Redeem, it was that perfect amalgamation of everything that they learned from the first 2 games. So it almost had no choice but to be the best game in the series.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yes, everyone's going to have their preference, but overall, I do think that it's the best one in my
Yeah.
opinion, and it's definitely
Future
my
Redeem
favorite.
rounded out very well with I forgot I didn't talk about much about Future Redeemed. Of course, story is one thing with all the returning characters and the references and all that, but especially for the newcomers who are playing X, I want to ask them this, or I can ask you, Justin, because you've played a bit of X now with Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Didn't when I played Future Redeemed, when I did Affinity Goals, I was immediately reminded of Frontier Nav. And did you feel that way when you did Frontier Nav? Didn't it feel like Affinity Goals from Future Redeemed?
Yeah.
And
I can see
that was my like ultimate like thing where I was like, okay, they are rounding out everything, not only with 1, 2, and 3, but even with X, they're like polishing up mechanics that they introduced in X and perfecting them here in Future Redeemed. And I was very, very happy to see that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you saw like all of like the really good open world stuff that was in like the Wild series of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. You saw that in Chronicles X and in Chronicles 3.
Yeah. You see that Monolith Soft open world design DNA.
Yes, very much so. All right, so we're about to get into some spoiler warning territory here because we're going to talk about the story. Talk about, is this the best story ever told in a Nintendo game? So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can go, there are going to be timestamps in the comments, so you can go to the next section where we talk about where the Xenoblade rank for us in our Nintendo franchises. But for right now, I need to know, is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 the best story ever told in a Nintendo game?
It's hard because we're playing from the mindset of someone who's experienced 1 and 2 prior to 3. So I have all that emotional luggage as well as a lot of context for events going on in Xenoblade 3. So of course I'm gonna go, oh yeah, no, it is, without a doubt. I'd still argue it's very up there. Yeah, I have to think on every other Nintendo game I've had the privilege of playing at this time, and I'm just like, it's there. It is there. Again, like with the other question, I don't know off the top of my head if I could put it exactly at number 1, but it is right there. If not the easiest, the number 2, and I'm trying to think of games I can compare it against, and guess what? It's being compared against Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what other Nintendo games I'm like, oh, the Xenoblade 3 is compared to Xenoblade 1 and 2, and I'm like, oh, those are Nintendo
I mean, I'm trying
games.
to think of other games.
You can't compare it to Xenogears because Xenogears is not Nintendo.
I know, and I'm not there, but I'm trying to think of other games that resonate with me on that emotional level, on that investment level, on the way the game tries to express itself, the layout, the story itself, narratively. And I'm like, maybe Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Dawn. I'm just like, because that is pretty tight knit.
You haven't played Genealogy of the Holy War, right?
No, I mean,
yeah,
I'd love to.
I haven't, but a lot of my friends who have played it have said that is a very mature story for a Nintendo game, and some of them are saying like if the remake happens, they're a little hesitant on how it's going to be changed. And I'm very like that makes me curious to like go into the original Super Famicom version and see what the game is like.
It's one of those games where it got away with the rating that it did because of the time it was released.
Yeah.
As opposed, like, I mean, Xenogears would, I'm sure, be an M-rated game by modern standards, just because of what it tackles.
I know a few things that happened in Genealogy of the Holy War, but it's it is I think it's the darkest Fire Emblem game. I don't know. I have to look more into it. Three Houses is very dark. Like, here's the thing.
Three Houses can get very dark, yeah.
Yeah, I had a very weird experience with Three Houses. I first played Edelgard's route. I enjoyed it, but I was not sold. And then when was it? Last year. So literally 4 freaking years later, I started Golden Deer, and that's when I was like, okay, this is why everyone is so obsessed with this game and the story and the lore and all that. I get it now. So, and then of course, like, I know a lot of what happens in Blue Lions because I looked up some cutscenes and all that. Yeah, Three Houses is very dark, very character driven, very gritty, and very just very like mature kind of storytelling. I am someone who feels this way about the Zelda series. I remember that my memory may be failing me, but it was also my childlike optimism. I remember a lot of Zelda fans loving and revering and respecting, and just the Zelda story was a major part of that series, and it was part of like the fan base and the love for that series back like when I was a kid. Skyward Sword is one of my favorite stories in gaming. I know that's kind of crazy. Even Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, all the 3D Zelda games, they have great stories. Like, and they're nothing complex. They're nothing elaborate, nothing huge and monumental plot twists or anything. And they do have some plot twists, but it's nothing major, you know? But they have very good themes and very good grounded like messages, and the adventure you go on is still very good. Ocarina of Time is a coming of age story, and it's about like learning to let your childhood go in the past. And it's very, actually, the more you think about it, the more you go back and read some of the dialogue of what Sheik is trying to tell you, like they're trying to like get like you grow up so fast in that game, and Sheik is like there to like ease you throughout this like very turbulent journey. Majora's Mask, everyone knows Majora's Mask. Crazy, dark, realistic, gritty, emotional, melancholy. It's a game that really kind of opened me up to how video games and storytelling can like represent these kinds of emotions and feelings and just like more darker side of like things. Wind Waker was also a very great story about coming of age. What I liked about it a lot is it was a little more character driven with Link, because he was not supposed to be the hero. So it gives him more of a hero's journey. And I like that as well. I love the supporting characters. I love Grandma. Grandma is one of my favorite Zelda characters, honestly. Twilight Princess is a story about also growing up, maturing, taking responsibility for yourself, for people around you. Like, Skyward Sword is my favorite because it is just cinema. It is like a beautiful romance movie, and I loved every second of it. The ending stretch of that game is just, it's perfect. I love it so much. So that's my Zelda glazing, and I will say that by also saying, like, I still think all Xenoblade games are better than Zelda stories, but I feel like nowadays it is always like, when people have played Xenoblade, they talk about it in the sense that, oh, Nintendo never writes good stories. Nintendo never had good stories. And I'm like, what happened? What happened to, like, what happened to, like, all the amazing, like, discussions we used to have about the Zelda series back then? Like, what happened to what we felt about Zelda and Fire Emblem and all, like, Mario's one thing. Mario's Mario. Yeah. Donkey Kong, like, stuff is pretty cool sometimes, but that stuff
Bonanza actually has a pretty good story.
Which is what I hear, but I still need to see a little more to get to there.
Yeah.
I'm still very early on as well.
Also, when we're talking Mario, you know what? I was thinking like story-wise, like obviously there are little snippets, but yeah, Galaxy, Rosalina's story. Rosalina's story makes me cry.
Yeah.
Like the first time you ever like read that story and you just, and then you go back to it the second time around, just like you're in tears. And then also like, you know, it doesn't have to be like an emotional story to be like a great story, like Thousand Year Door.
Yeah.
Like you're there for the drama, you're there for every little beat, you're there for every little comedic relief.
Yeah.
Like you're there for that. Yeah. And then even then it still picks up at the very end. I'm just like, whoa, what happened here? It's like I thought this was a Mario game. Like, like Nintendo, like it's like what
some of the Mario RPGs go really hard in their stories.
Yeah. Right?
Even like a lot of people say Fire Emblem Awakening's story was kind of mid, but Fire Emblem Awakening was one of the I call that my first JRPG. That was like the first like kind of more complex JRPG I ever played in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played that, I remember have you guys played Fire Emblem Awakening?
I played it. I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, I won't spoil too much, but there is a part early on in there's like 3 acts of the game. In the first act of the game, there is a major plot twist where a character dies, and I didn't expect it. I was like, oh my god, like, I can't believe that happened. But then the chapter after that is so emotional with the music. Like, I think you guys might know what I'm talking about. The music, the character dialogue. Because like the villain of this map doesn't want to fight you, and then like he's just like I just want to let this go. I don't want to like get involved in this, and like your leader is like very angry at what just happened. So there's a lot of like emotional tension there. The music is like very, very sad. Like if I listen to that music, I'll get really emotional because like that moment, that whole stretch is so good, and I'm like, when people say Nintendo never has good stories other than Xenoblade, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not entirely true. Xenoblade is still upper echelon. It's the best. If we're going back to the question that you proposed, I would probably say Xenoblade 3 is probably the best story in like just when it encapsulates everything. But I think the other 2 games do some things better. Like one has the best pacing in its plot, I think. One has the best pacing.
Undoubtedly.
I also say one has the best Freytag's pyramid. If you guys remember Freytag's pyramid of plot, like exposition, rising action, climax, all that stuff. One does that very well because 2 is just kind of all over the place sometimes. 3 has a very good like climb, and then the dip is very sudden. I know a lot of people feel that way, and I sort of felt that way initially. So
they land the pinnacle, but they don't quite nail the resolution.
Yeah, it is a little rushed near the end, so I can understand that. And then 2 to me has the most it is debatable if 2 has the most emotional moments. We're in spoilers right now, so I will say 2, like there are very, very powerful emotional moments in 2, but 3 has like the emotional moment with Mio's homecoming. That is like the moment that everyone is like always talking about, the one that everyone reacts to. It throws
Chapter
everyone
5
off.
Trending.
It was trending on Twitter and all that, and like that was the reason I stayed up till like 2:30 in the morning. I was like, wow, they just straight up killed off one of the main characters of the story. I was expecting this to probably happen at the very end of the game, but wow, it's right in the middle of the game. So like, what's going on?
Yeah, so, like this whole time, and they did a really good job with basically telling us at the very start we got to be on the lookout for Mio's homecoming. She's got 3 months, so a lot of the time in this cycle, this hype up cycle for the game, I'm building up the idea that the game's going to resolve around Mio's homecoming, not the fact that it would happen 3/4 of the way into the game. Like, what do you mean?
And the way they explained it all was very good. Like, you had the foreshadowing with the Mobius M battle theme, where you hear the flutes, and that is signifying that you're actually fighting your Mio, who is body swapped. And then you realize that the one who was off scene was M, who was N's Mio. And Yeah, I really like that. I think
Sitting in the jail cell, and she says, "With my Noah."
yeah,
Yeah.
And I
going
was
back
like,
to a lot of those
"Ah."
moments, it still hits very hard, but it's kind of recontextualized, and you're like, wow, so that's what they were trying to tell. That's what they were trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. 3, it has so many moments that just you feel they build to those moments perfectly, and they just fill out the world perfectly, like just like small little things, like when they get to the city
oh
and
yeah,
you see their reaction to seeing a baby for the first
that was a
time.
very great moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. um, and you talked about how if you need to have a good cry, you'll listen to that song. And yeah, that ending sequence of seeing them running towards each other as the worlds are splitting apart or merging or whatever. And yeah, that was so emotional.
Yeah, that
um,
was a very very well done
yeah,
ending sequence. They did a
yeah.
very good job of that.
But yet, like we talked about how people say that Nintendo doesn't do good stories, and like they don't always focus on the story, and sometimes they try to tell the story through gameplay. So it's just like they tell stories differently than say like a Sony with like a The Last of Us or something
Yeah,
like that. Um, and I know it's probably not the popular sentiment sometimes, but I still really loved the story in Tears of the Kingdom. I know like people didn't love them telling the same, having the same cinematic sequences for all the sages and stuff.
I was gonna say I'm biting my tongue here.
But the story, just with everything that related to Link and Zelda, to me was just such a beautiful story. And getting the Master Sword, like that was one of the first times I recall actually like getting goosebumps in the game. Like
yeah.
Mhm.
when I
There
got
are some
that.
very good epic story moments in Tears of the
Yeah,
Kingdom.
yeah,
Zelda swallowing the Secret Stone, becoming the dragon.
yeah,
Link, I think they're like you could rank the Master Sword retrieval scenes in all of the Zelda games.
Mhm.
yeah,
As much as I have criticism for Tears of the Kingdom, the Master Sword retrieval is would be very high on my list.
yeah,
It's very very good. It's
I
very
also think a lot of people forget just how much Zelda actually sacrifices in just
yeah
about every single game.
yeah,
Like the amount of responsibility she just always puts forward
yeah.
at the cost of her own like health or conditions.
yeah,
As much as I criticize Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom story, this iteration of Zelda is still my favorite. Despite me being a Skyward Sword super fan, I was saying earlier,
yeah,
Wild iteration of Zelda is my favorite.
yeah,
I really
Mhm.
really really liked her character development throughout the two games.
yeah,
My problem with those games is the pacing, the continuity, and all that stuff. But the stuff that they did in some of those memories and cutscenes, I really liked. I just wanted more
Mhm.
of it, and I wanted it
yeah,
kind of like
When I think of those
add
cutscenes, I'm like,
together a
dang,
very
I want
cool
to be in
puzzle.
those cutscenes.
yeah.
That's my
There,
thing. And I'm like, I felt like that with like the whole Breath of the Wild leading into Age of Calamity. And I'm like, I
yeah,
want to see more of that, man. And then Justin, you were saying earlier about like games that incorporate the storytelling by the like through the gameplay. You know what
hmm,
my first thought of was when you mentioned that? Kirby.
yeah,
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 Because you look at Kirby and you're like, wow, this is fun, and the music's upbeat, and the area looks so nice and vibrant and colorful. And I'm like, what do you mean this is like like ruined landscape of a city?
yeah.
I'm like, and who's the final boss? It's like, oh, it's the literal spawn of Satan. Just like,
Yeah,
huh?
Kirby's have some dark moments
I
that
will say
people
this
don't.
about Kirby. I still haven't yet. I haven't played Forgotten Land yet. A lot of my friends are trying to get me out to play
Oh,
that, but
yeah,
I
Me
give it a
will.
too.
I
yeah.
it looks very good. I want to play that, but I played Superstar Ultra as a kid, and if you guys remember, the ultimate final boss of that game is called Mark's Soul. If you guys
Hmm.
remember Superstar Ultra, that shit gave me nightmares as a kid because when you
Dude,
beat
that
it,
was
first of all, the boss is tough. The boss is very tough. When you beat it, it lets out this massive screeching, blood-curdling scream, and that shit gave me nightmares for like a week. And I was like, "Oh,
have you played Kirby 64?
Oh yeah, the eye.
The eye that like literally as you fight bleeds. Like a bleeding eyeball, and we're like, Jesus Christ.
Rated E for everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of Nintendo games get pretty dark. Even Pokemon does. Pokemon gets very dark in some aspects, and it's cool. Like I remember playing Pokemon as a kid, and then it would get dark, and I'm like, "Ooh, this isn't what I remember when I started off in Pallet Town."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And even like the game that like really epitomizes like the story through gameplay is Metroid Prime, especially the first one. Like getting so much of the story just through scanning, and reading what's happening. You're like, man, there's some messed up stuff that like
even 2D Metroid has very good stories. I remember I hadn't played Super Metroid until 2021, and that whole ending sequence of Super Metroid is genius. It's so well done because it's a short game. You're gonna remember I won't spoil it because I don't know if Yggdrasiel has played Super Metroid. It's a very good, very, very, very good game. And like you remember things that happened in the beginning, and then it comes back at the end, and the emotional impact is there. Like you actually see a lot of that emotional impact with Samus, even though it's very, very minimal. And even something like Samus Returns. I didn't play Samus Returns until last year, and you see a lot of like that kind of empathy with Samus and other characters in that. Metroid Dread, very, very good story. Like, of course, not on the level of Xenoblade or anything, but for a Metroid and a Nintendo game, it was very enjoyable. And the ending sequence was like top tier, amazing. Makes me very optimistically excited for Metroid Prime 4 story and all that. So,
yeah, I played Super Metroid way back in the 90s, and like those final moments of that game like have stuck with me since I played it when I was like teenage Justin. Like I remember that being one of the first times of like actually getting hyped at something that happened story wise in a video game. So yeah, I do definitely enjoy how they told the story through gameplay in Super Metroid. You haven't played Super Metroid there?
Nah.
No.
I need to. There's a lot of Metroid games I've not played, especially the older ones. I just got to get around through them.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah. I want to play through the two that are on the NSO when before Metroid Prime 4 comes out. So the Zero Mission.
Unfortunately, Samus Returns is not on Switch.
Yeah.
But you have the inferior Metroid 2.
Hey, I played that one on the Game Boy back in the day.
I don't want to touch that. I'm scared.
I'll
go with Zero Mission and Return of Samus, or Samus Returns. Sorry.
Yeah. Playing it as a kid, like I on the Game Boy, I liked Metroid 2, but how well it might hold up today with the green graphics, I don't know. Yeah. But I loved, a lot of stories in Nintendo games. We talked about Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's one that still sticks with me, especially like when the time skip happens and the the choices you have to make going against people that you connected with back at the monastery and stuff. But yeah, overall, when I think about all the combination of things of just the moments of making you laugh, moments of making you cry, moments of dropping your jaw, and then just things that just will stick with you like forever. To me, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is probably the pinnacle of Nintendo storytelling, but specifically Monolith Soft storytelling.
I love how this segment was less of us proving why Xenoblade 3 is the best story, but more of us talking about how Nintendo stories were never bad And I like that because it's a given that Xenoblade is going to be the upper echelon of Nintendo stories. It's kind of a given now. Even if you haven't played Xenoblade or any of the games, you just kind of know that out of all of Nintendo's series, Xenoblade is the story one. If you want to go for a good story, you got to play Xenoblade. So it's kind of a given. Out of the 3 games, it is debatable, but I love how we're hyping up other Nintendo game stories because they're not. They are often overlooked.
yeah, definitely. But I guess we can welcome back the people that were avoiding spoilers here, and I would like to know, where does the Xenoblade series as a whole rank for you amongst Nintendo franchises?
This is tough.
You know where it's gonna be. No, okay, I have to be a little more fair here. I mean, I'm a Nintendo boy, okay? My parents are like, "What is Xbox? What is PlayStation?" Like no, Nintendo is kids, is family. You get Nintendo. Here you go. Like they're not. My family's not Russian. It's just the impression I use for it. We're Middle Eastern. They have the unique ones. I can't.
Russian. It's so funny.
I always do the Russian. And I don't know why. I don't know. I guess if I went Arabic, it would be sounding racist to myself. I don't know. But that, like, yeah, like I'm a Nintendo boy. My first console was a Game Boy that my dad only had Tetris on, and then my mom got rid of Tetris, unfortunately. And so then I moved on to the Nintendo 64, and that's what I had growing up. So, you know, those core franchises for me would especially be Mario. I mean, come on, he's the forward face of Nintendo. I grew up on Mario 64, on the Paper Mario series, into Super Smash Brothers, and whose face is right there at the forefront? Mario. Zelda games, I didn't unfortunately get to play a lot of Zelda games until eventually, like, towards the Wii era. I had Ocarina, not Ocarina of Time, but I had Majora's Mask. I actually played Majora's Mask before I played Ocarina of Time. And I'll tell you, I was scared as all heck to play that game as a kid. Like, I was like, the music doesn't sit right. This is creepy. What's going on?
It's very different.
It's very dark as an opener for
I had
Zelda.
that feeling too.
Like, because that was my first Zelda game. I'm like, this is dark. Like, it sets a tone, and then it would take a long time before I actually started to experience other Zelda games. But obviously, like, when I look back at the last decade, Mario is still there. It's still very prevalent, like, especially the way that the teams that work on Mario games incorporate their ideas and how that series continues to evolve on its own. But I just look at everything else, and who do I see, like, consistently putting banger after banger? Who do I see gets the calls to go and help out these other teams, and, like, flex their expertise, and has, like, this high retention rate, and not only has this high retention rate, but they're, like, consistently growing. The quality is there. They're going out and they're having all these, like, teams and meetups and presentations just to, like, bolster interest in this growing franchise. It would be Monolith Soft with the Xenoblade games. So that's where it would be. And then Mario just ever so slightly under, because that is my childhood. It is what made me what I am in terms of what I look for games, and it is the most prominent form of Nintendo's gameplay fun first mantra. That's where it would be. And then after that, it's like it'd be like a smorgasbord of, like, trying to get all these, like, different franchises up there. Because I could make a case for every single one, but when I look at consistency and impact on my life, especially in these recent years, like, did I think I would be making YouTube content and talking with very prominent figures in the Xenoblade community? No, I didn't. So I don't think I could say that with the Mario franchise the same way I can with Xenoblade, you know?
Yeah.
So, of course, it's going to be the top for me.
Yeah. So Xenoblade number one.
What about you, Zelda boy?
Which one? I guess you're asking the guy who has the Zelda poster back there. Yeah.
I got one right there too.
Oh, is that? Oh, that is Zelda. You're right.
I got Link's Awakening right there.
Yeah, I
It's
see
a little
that.
hard to see, but Link's Awakening
I
right
have
next to Kaiba. And Twilight Princess right next to it.
Yeah. I have Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker over there, Skyward Sword over there. You can't see those. Ocarina of Time here, Breath of the Wild over there. Ocarina of Time there. You might be no, you can't see that. And then Breath of the Wild's over there. But anyways, I'll say this about my favorite Nintendo franchises. I see my gaming eras differently, where the three series have significantly impacted me in different parts of my life. So as a kid, 7 years old when I started playing video games, 7 years old when I started playing, it was Pokemon. That was my real true introduction to the obsession of video games. Like, I want to go home, play video games, I want to level up my Pokemon, I want to like battle, I want to progress, I want to go to towns, meet people, and like that was like my obsession as a kid. And of course I played Mario, I played Sonic, I played other games. But then as I grew up, I wanted to experience something better, something cooler, something more just more rounded of an experience. I've always heard people say, "Oh, Ocarina of Time is the greatest game ever made," whatever, right? So on my Wii Virtual Console, I ended up getting Ocarina of Time in the first Legend of Zelda game. And I always say, I think I don't remember how I used to say this, but I think it was like the first Legend of Zelda game is the first Zelda game I played. So Zelda 1 is still my first Zelda game because I booted it up and played like the first level, but Ocarina of Time was like my actual first game where I like booted up, played it till completion, and that is still like if I have a list of like my top 50 favorite video games. Ocarina is still number 1 as of now because of the monumental impact it had not only for me in gaming, but my life. I never looked at any media the same ever again because I was very blown away by how that game blended in its gameplay and its story to just give this like feeling and experience of an adventure. And I'd never seen that in any other video game. And then I looked into how much it inspired other developers and other like studios and other games, and the more I played video games, I was like, oh, this game probably got this from Ocarina of Time, and this and this and this, and Ocarina of Time started this and was the pioneer of this. So Zelda was my new obsession. Then I played all the Zelda games. I was enamored by Zelda's world, its story, its characters, its impact on the video game space. So Zelda was my number 1 in my preteen and teenager era of my life. And then in my adulthood, it was Xenoblade because I was a little bit older. I wanted more dedicated stories in my games, so that's when I started to get into JRPGs. Like, I played Final Fantasy VII, I played Persona 4, Persona 5, a lot of those games, and then Xenoblade came in, and Xenoblade really resonated with me at that particular time in my life because 2018 and 19 were very difficult years for me in my life, and then 2020 was the pandemic, and I almost saw it as sort of like a blessing. I know the pandemic was a very difficult time for a lot of people, but for me it was a time where I could come back home and just recharge everything and recenter myself and focus on myself and what's important for me. And then I played Xenoblade, and I played 1, and then I played 2, and those games kind of like helped me recenter myself and remind me who I am. And that is sort of like a feeling I'm looking for video games now, and I'm kind of chasing that feeling. That's something I got from games like Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VII, Xenogears really gave that to me. And so I would say my top 2 franchises are Xenoblade and Zelda, because I am like the Xenoblade and Zelda guy. I'm online, I'm more of the Xenoblade guy, I've noticed now, because I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but right now, currently, I feel more aligned with the Xenoblade franchise with the present day trajectory of Xenoblade than I do with the present day trajectory of the Zelda series. And not that I don't like them, but I feel like I have more of a attachment to the older Zelda games, and I am more take this for what you will. I am more excited for the future of the Xenoblade series, and I'm more apprehensive of the future of the Zelda series. So I'm still excited for the future of Zelda, but I'm a little apprehensive with some comments that Eiji Onuma has made, but we'll see. We'll see. So I would say currently Xenoblade might be number one, but Zelda is like just a shy right there. It's like how Yggdrasil says Mario had such a profound impact on him.
Yeah.
For me, Zelda had a profound impact on me, so it's always gonna be up there. But then also I love, like, in terms of Nintendo, I love Fire Emblem and Metroid a lot as well. But Xenoblade and Zelda are my like top two.
Top two, yeah, no, definitely understand that. Say for me, there's just too much history there when it comes to Mario and Zelda. So for me, those will always be like 1 and 1A, and it's hard for me to even know which one I prefer between those two. But Ocarina of Time, that's definitely like my favorite game of all time. Experiencing that when it came out, and just that's one of those games, my wife asked me if there's a game that you could wipe your mind and experience it for the first time. Ocarina of Time is definitely one of the games on that list. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is on that list too. But just Ocarina of Time.
I would love to do that for Ocarina. For Ocarina, Majora, I would love to wipe my memory of those games.
But just like experiencing like how it revolutionized, just camera control and being able to fight in a 3D landscape. That just I'll never forget volleying back and forth that ball of energy, and just thinking that was like the coolest thing ever in a boss fight. So just having all of those experiences with Zelda, even to like, that experience of Breath of the Wild and walking out onto the edge of that cliff for the first time, and just playing through that game, and talking to one of my best friends and seeing where he was, and how he how he like
that
solved
first
problems.
year of Breath of the Wild was so memorable. Because for me, I was a open air Zelda denier throughout the entire lead up to Breath of the Wild. I was like, this looks good, but is this going to be Zelda level good? And then I saw the reviews. I was like, oh, okay, I'll pick this up. And I was a freshman in college when that game came out, so I couldn't afford a Switch. So I got the game on the Wii U, and it was all I was playing. All my roommates would like, they were like glued to the TV. All my friends in my hallway would come into my dorm. They're like, dude, what are you playing? And I'm like, this is Zelda, man. And they're like, this is Zelda? I'm like, yeah, this is Zelda now. And it was very memorable.
It was such an impactful experience.
I can't even imagine a Wii U experience. I'm sorry.
All right. And then with Mario, like that was what brought me to video games. I was like hospitalized at the children's hospital from an asthma attack, and during that time Nintendo was donating NESs to children's hospitals, and so I went and saw this thing. It's like, oh, what is this? Played the very first Super Mario Brothers, and was like, Mom, I need this for Christmas.
It's a great gaming origin story.
Right. and then experiencing each Mario after that with Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, Mario 64 for the first time, one of the most mind-blowing experiences ever. So yeah, Zelda and Mario will always be 1 and 1A for me. But throughout the Switch era, Xenoblade has definitely become a top 3 Nintendo franchise for me.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
But so for Xenoblade, I would say it's been pretty successful throughout the Switch era. But we're big fans of it. We're big fans of Monolith Soft, and we always want to see them do even better and reach a bigger audience. So what do you all think? What does Xenoblade or just what does Monolith need to do for their games to go to the next level sales wise, for them to get to that 4, that 5, that 6+ million territory?
I have a decent bit to say about this. So I guess I'll start with this. In terms of what we've seen for Xenoblade sales, okay. One thing I will say is Nintendo games sell very well because of them being Nintendo games, but some of them are like very high upper echelon. Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, 20+ million. Mario, 20+, or 10+, 20+, 30+ million. Smash Bros, like all that. A lot of that is because of the approachability of them. Because like Zelda's more approachable, Mario, Kirby, they're way more approachable. Even Pokemon, despite Pokemon being a turn-based RPG, it's way more approachable. JRPGs in general are not as approachable. It took me a while to accept that and understand that when I got into the genre, but then when I started to compare some sales numbers, and then I looked at Xenoblade, I was actually very impressed with Xenoblade sales. And everyone is like, I remember like talking to some people and they're like, oh, I'm waiting for Xenoblade to reach the level of like a 10+ million seller like a Zelda or something. I'm like, first of all, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen, and that's not a bad thing at all. That's not a bad thing at all. And I think if you look at it like this, Xenoblade 2 hitting 3 million over the course of many years on one singular system is probably giving Square Enix nightmares. Think about that.
Yeah.
Xenoblade 1 and 2 hitting close to 2 million on one system, on one Switch, is also giving Square Enix like terrors. You're like, oh my god, what's happening? What is, like, how is this doing this? Like, the profitability of these games with the sales that they're getting is very good. And of course, they will, with more power, more graphical intensive games and more approachable combat systems, better stories, the popularity will grow, the sales will expand. I always say, like, Xenoblade is almost like Nintendo's Final Fantasy. And if you look at like the early days of Final Fantasy, like I was never around for all that, but you see the golden age of Final Fantasy. That is the pinnacle of JRPG popularity for many people. You had these games that are selling like upwards of 7 to 10 million copies. And then you of course had that with like Final Fantasy X, you had that with Final Fantasy 15, but it's not the same anymore. And you see like the cap of like a JRPG in the modern day is like a 5 to 7 million, and if it's a very, very popular JRPG. And then you have like your Persona 5s, which have broken into the mainstream. You can compare those to Xenoblade and be like, oh, why isn't Xenoblade hitting that level? But with it being on one platform, it's doing very well. Like Dragon Quest XI, I don't know if it's hit 10 million sold. I think it's at least 7 million plus, but that's on many systems, which has helped it a lot. That's very good. Same with
PC.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And FF7 Remake Intergrade has also hit 7 million plus, but that's post multi-platform. I don't remember the stats or like how much the launch sales were. But think about Rebirth. We don't even know how much Rebirth has sold. Yeah. It is probably close to like 2 million or whatever, but like that is the impact of the Switch and what the Switch 2 is going to have. I think Xenoblade will this is what I've always joked about with people. When Monolith Soft goes into 4K 60 FPS, people will finally start taking them seriously. I think Andres Restart said that. He said something like, "Oh, when Monolith Soft games start to look good, people will start to take them more seriously," because Xenoblade is like seen as like, oh, anime, whatever, like all that stuff. But even anime games are selling well.
And yet they say that, and then yet, you know what? whenever there's a graphics comparison within Nintendo, who are they comparing X game to?
Yeah.
Monolith Soft, yeah, exactly.
Monolith,
yeah, Pokemon is always compared to Xenoblade X.
Yeah.
But
I'm not even sure what they could do graphics wise to try and sell people more, aside from step away from anime to a more mature style, which they're not going to do. They've already
I
set
don't
the
know if they
tone.
will. I think
They've
what
already
I
set
sort
the
of
tone for their designs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless it's a new franchise, we pretty much know what to expect for that a Xenoblade game should look like.
Yeah, I also hope that they maybe tap more into the style of the X Definitive Edition, because I think that's a very good blend of realism and stylized, and it was done very well. And I love how the characters look in X Definitive Edition. In terms of breaking into like a 4 or 5 million seller, I think another thing that they're going to do is they might simplify the combat a little bit, because that is a very big talking point in the community. I don't want to play
a refresh.
Yeah. They're like, I don't want to play these games because of auto battle, or I don't want to play these games because the menu is messy, it's confusing. And I'm just like, oh, watch a YouTube video, I'll read the tutorials, I'll help you out. But like, it's a very big barrier of entry for people. Yeah. So if they simplify it down, and if they have trailers that show like, hey, this is the combat, here it is in a more simple way, they will get more people to pick up the game as well.
One was very nice. People complain it's too simplistic. Meanwhile, 2 slightly reinvents the wheel with a bunch of new elements, even though the core is still there. And then 3, like we discussed earlier, is the best of both worlds, where they just merge everything. But that can get too chaotic. That can feel too overwhelming to some people who are just like, what are all these like caveats in the system? Like, I don't really get this. I don't get X, Y, Z. Like, I don't understand why it's working like this, or like, how do I arrange this? I feel like we need just like to pull back the curtain a little bit. Like let us see the system as for what it is, and then let us just work with some more bare elements, just to try and get people used to it. Or at the very least, if they're gonna go, I'm gonna retract that, because I was gonna lead into like when to introduce gameplay elements at that point, and I feel like that's just going way too invested. But I do think we do need that slight reduction in like the level of systems. And I think Future Redeemed sort of hit that right on the money, because I would argue that Future Redeemed is one of the best gameplay loops I've ever experienced, where everything flows into one another smoothly. The upgrade systems make sense. The character growth makes complete sense, and character growth feeds into exploration. Exploration has like 3 or 4 different facets that, guess what, feed back into character growth, and so on and so forth. And it just felt so nice. And that's one big bump that the DLC stories have over the main stories, is they simplify the systems up. They know this. They know the game is going to be shorter. They want things to ramp up more smoothly and progressively than the base game itself. So they sort of like do a very good job of constricting all these elements of design. And I feel like we need something like that from the get-go, but I would love to see that in a main game.
Yeah.
As opposed to just a side story.
But do you think that would be met with some backlash from like the super fans that love the complex?
Oh, of course. I mean, I can hear NL going, no, 50 more guides, 500 more guides.
I think simplifying isn't necessarily bad in some ways, because if they simplify, like there's some JRPGs with simplified combat that are still very good. Like think about like FF7 Remake and Rebirth. Those combat systems are very complex, but they're easy to pick up. FF7 Remake was one of my friend's very first JRPGs, and he played it because of the combat, and he was obsessed from the minute he started the game. And like, if they figures out something like that, but not exactly the same thing, then they will strike gold. And like, another example is Tales of Arise. That is one of the most anime games ever. Like, if you guys want to rip on Xenoblade for being anime, the Tales of series is literally anime in a video game. It is literally the most
Dragon Quest 11. We talked about it earlier. Dragon Quest 11 is RPG, the RPG anime.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, Tales of Arise was one of the most successful Tales games. It had a very, very successful run. And part of that was, one, because of the visuals and the stylized graphics and the visual style and the graphics and all that, the environments. But another thing was the combat. The combat animations look so good. They look so fluid. And they're so much fun to perform as you're playing the game. And there are some kind of parallels to Xenoblade 2 in some ways, and Xenoblade 1 in terms of arts and how you're performing your arts and stuff like that, or your arts recharge and all that. So I'm like, if they can make things a little more streamlined, a little simpler, I think they will bring in a lot more people.
I also want to say, and I'm gonna go back to it because I don't want people getting the wrong impression. When I say simplified, I don't mean reductive.
Yeah.
I don't mean we're gonna strip away features and just leave you with some base scarce. I'm not saying go from Xenoblade 3 all the way back to Xenoblade 1 and that leave it as that. Although as a Xenoblade 1 stan, of course I'm gonna say it's there's nothing wrong with it. I'm an MMO guy. I look at Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 3 especially, and I look at this is MMO gameplay.
Yeah.
And I love every second of it, especially 3. I feel like I'm carrying my own Final Fantasy 14 group every time I boot up Xenoblade 3. But no, I don't mean reductive. I mean simply things need to be better explained. They, like Nishquik said, they need to be better to pick up on. Because
it needs to be more approachable, basically.
People still argue what certain elements and certain effects in Xenoblade 2 imply. That's crazy. There's effects in the blade. There's effects in blade charts that people still don't know what it means, or to what degree, or to what percentage, or to what activation rate. And I'm like,
I still am unsure. I still forget what blade arts are in Xenoblade 2, and I still forget what some of the. I completely forget about the skill links in Xenoblade 1.
You think I knew? Yeah, but
the affinity coins and the skill links, I completely forget about that. I'm like,
you think some random person in 2017 before NL's guides or the Chugga Conroy videos, you think what some of us really knew what a fusion combo was till their second playthrough?
Yeah.
No,
I remember I would trigger fusion combos by mistake, and I'm like, what am I doing? Am I doing that right? I guess I did, because it just zoomed in on
it. And then the announcer just goes, Mega Inferno, awesome. And you're just like, I guess I did that.
Right.
And you're just it's we don't need that to occur without understanding how that happens, because we're not going to really feel the satisfaction of wow, I really pulled that off. I felt like I knew what I was doing. Elements just need to be better portrayed, and that's something that unfortunately runs a little bit rampant in each of the Xenoblade games. 2, of course, more than anything else. A little bit more, a little bit in X, a little less so in 3, and then 1, there's the skills and a few other points of conflict. But they just need to improve in that to a degree. And I would love to see, if we're calling Xenoblade 4 the new arc, because how we finished the current saga, I would love to see said new arc take elements from the previous games, but still come out with its own new thing. And then in Xenoblade 5, we incorporate that game's Xenoblade 4's elements into 5, and then we start seeing that build up again.
Yeah, definitely a lot of what you all said.
Is that going to get more people to play the game? Get more people to play the series? I hope so. I would love to see more marketing support. Nintendo's been doing an excellent job with marketing for the Xenoblade games when it comes around to it, in my opinion.
I was gonna say something about that. I wanted to talk about the marketing. Yeah, Nintendo has been doing good with Xenoblade 2 and 3 marketing. They did a very good job. I don't think they did the best job with X though. I think they threw.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
Granted, it could
expecting
have been
X
better.
to be in the June Direct of last year, and it wasn't. And
yeah,
then X was just randomly shadow dropped later in October
yeah,
Mhm.
during the midst of the Switch 2 hype circle. And I was
yeah,
like, okay, sure, that's good. And the views of the trailer were good, but a lot of the X DE hype and trailers were it was marketed in a very turbulent time, and I don't think they also did enough for it as well.
yeah.
I I also think in general Nintendo's marketing is very messy this year in general. I don't
Mhm.
like a lot of what they're doing, but I hope this um strategy they're doing for a lot of Switch 2 games right now isn't what they end up doing for the next Xenoblade or Monolith Soft game. Waiting until the very, very end to give us information, waiting until the very, very end to give us trailers or release dates and all that. I hope they space it out. I hope they give us quality content in each like wave of the marketing release. I hope they don't give too much away, and I
Yeah,
hope they have good like explanations for a lot of this stuff. Like they'll do like if they do a dedicated direct for like a future Xenoblade game, they usually have like good explanations of the systems and the gameplay loop and the story all on that. But yeah, just pace it out, market it like you marketed Xenoblade 2 and Xenoblade 3.
yeah.
That's all I'm
I,
asking.
I think it's only been kind of a little bit messier because they're still maybe finishing up some of these games, so like everything isn't truly ironed out yet. Where like if you believe what Kiwi talks, you know how he said they were trying to iron out some things with Metroid Prime, and it seemed and maybe there's some stuff they're trying to iron out with Age of Imprisonment and stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe they were still trying to really come to terms. All right, when is this going to be good? But I think whenever they announce like the next Monolith game, it's going to be pretty at a pretty good place that they're going to know what's going on with that, and
Yeah.
think it'll get more of that bonanza treatment. you know,
Okay.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, Monolith is always over prepared.
yeah,
Remember when Xenoblade 3 was supposed to come out in September and then they moved it up
yeah,
to July and all?
They looked at Xenoblade 2's production cycle and they said never again, and they
never
stuck by
again.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
um,
also because they were a much smaller team back then and
Mhm.
yeah,
they yeah, they were much smaller. A lot of people were stolen away for Breath of the Wild and Splatoon
yeah,
2, so understandable.
yeah.
They had to outsource a
Mhm.
lot for Xenoblade 2.
Yeah, Xenoblade 2 wasn't even like the big team or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but I
it's funny because Xenoblade 2 is seen by many as their favorite game of all time, their favorite
yeah,
Xenoblade game, their favorite JRPG. Um, and it is the most successful game in the series.
yeah,
Mhm.
So despite the crazy development, despite them not like maybe going as hard in terms of resources on that game, it's their
yeah,
most successful game, and in many ways, it's the most. I think Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 are the most important Xenoblade games
yeah,
in terms
yeah,
of like what it means for Monolith Soft.
yeah, without a doubt. And I think also, I definitely think that the Switch 2 is going to be huge for Monolith in their next project. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
seeing what they're going to be able to do with this type of power at their hands, and
yeah.
just
I call this
simplify.
my Xenoblade 4 machine.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think maybe if they add some a little bit more freedom and customizability, um, with they kind of already did some of that with like the classes and how you could pick and choose things on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 of how you wanted to add certain elements from different classes, but they take that to the next level, kind of like how you had so much freedom of choice in like a Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be huge um, for Xenoblade or whatever Monolith Soft is doing next. And on that, what do you think? Are we getting a Xenoblade next, or is it a brand new IP from Monolith?
Oh, oh boy.
I would love to see them just jump into Xenoblade 4, but a part of me also wants to see that breath of fresh air, them trying something new, because they lay their hands heavily on they lay their cards heavily on the sci-fi slash high fantasy route.
Yeah.
And I would just love to see them try a different style, like a different genre.
Yeah.
Like when we got, and I'll always point to the key arts and like the project arts and the demonstrative arts that they always try and present with, especially the ones years and years ago of that one knight with the crimson cape and
And
just
the girl with the dragon above
the
her.
girl with the dragon above her, and then that one artwork where they're just looking over this giant
Yeah.
landscape of like this giant sprawling seaside town.
Yeah.
Just there's so many different avenues that they could all like also express those fantasies in.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know because I would love to see where Xenoblade goes next, but I would also like to see some of these different avenues and different settings.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
being said, I feel like Monolith Soft is growing at a point where I'm just like, maybe we could see both, maybe a little bit spread out, but it's like
Yeah.
we're getting there, and at the same time, I would hope that they continue to assist Nintendo with their other projects as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, Before I say what I want to say, Justin, have you beat X Definitive Edition?
No,
Okay.
Uh,
I haven't beat it yet.
We close
Okay.
our tongues. We close our mouths. They say no. They say no such things.
No, no,
In my
no,
case.
but what I'll say is I believe the next project from Monolith is a new IP.
Okay.
I still believe that. I may be wrong, but I still believe it because I don't believe Xenoblade 4 is coming super soon. And a lot of people say that and believe it, and I'm starting to slowly believe it as well because it's been
It's
3 years
been
since Xenoblade
3 years.
3, so they're definitely working on it. They have been working on another game though. I'm sure of it. They have been working on another game which they were hiring for during Xenoblade 3 with another team. It might have been within the Kyoto team, but a separate like sub team away from Takahashi's team. Because last year we learned that Takahashi is now actively hiring for his new RPG, and that is Xenoblade 4. I'm certain whether it's called Xenoblade 4 or whatever it's called, it is Takahashi's next game, and this is the first game he's going to be directing in a very long time, actually. Like if you guys didn't know, Takahashi doesn't have a full-on directorial role in any of the Xenoblade games. He's always executive director, but Kojima is the main director of those games, and I don't think Takahashi has been in the director's seat since Xenosaga 1. So this is going to be a very, very Takahashi game, but that is in the future. They're still actively developing that. And they didn't start actively hiring for it until last year. So that's why I believe Xenoblade 4 is way, 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 way down. I don't think it's till like 2028, maybe. I think also based off of certain leaks that we have seen last year, I think a new IP is coming because we heard about what we have heard as Project Legacy. I believe that is the new IP. I believe it is a fantasy IP. I also, my guess as to what it is, this is my crazy off the wall guess. I think it might be Nintendo's like take on Final Fantasy 14, and it might
Mm.
be them trying to do some more multiplayer aspects on this stuff because I don't remember who it was, but I remember some people were noticing that some people who worked on the multiplayer aspect for Xenoblade X were not credited. Xenoblade X 2015 were not credited on Xenoblade 3 and Future Redeemed, and they seem to still be actively working on something at Monolith Soft or something like that. Don't quote me. This is like based off of like random video I watched last year. I think it was like a Luxon video or something. But
Yeah.
um my guess is that it will be MMO inspired. It'll be very big. It will not be as story focused. and I think people who did not like Xenoblade X will be a little upset about it. And I'm very excited to see what they're going to do, because there is a subset of Monolith Soft developers who are more systems focused, more exploration world focused, more gameplay and combat focused, rather than the story and the environment design and all that stuff that the Takahashi team is like very skilled at. So I think this new IP is going to be the younger developers of Monolith Soft kind of being like, hey, this is what we can do. This is an IP we're trying to like bring into the mainstream. This might also be a very like high selling, very top of the line RPG, and it might get more hardcore fans to get a Switch 2. A lot of people who are hesitant about the Switch 2 right now, a lot of the JRPG crowd who is upset about game key cards. If this game is a fully on the card game with some maybe online stuff, it might get people to hop on the Switch 2. We'll see.
Nice. I like it. That would be maybe a controversial choice if they went with
How about this? Sorry, I was just thinking. I'm trying not to cut off, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. When developing the next game, what if they make it rated M?
Oh, yes.
If it allows Takahashi to go even deeper, even darker.
I mean,
he's always wanted to.
I know.
He said,
I was gonna say, hasn't he said that he's wanted to get really deep and mature with some stuff?
He's wanted to, and I think he wants to go darker than Gears and Saga. I don't know how dark Saga gets, but Gears gets very dark. And I don't know if you saw it, Justin, but me and Yggdrasiel were in a massive Xenoblade collab on our buddy Sparks Opus's channel. Nice. And my thing I say in that video is I want the next protagonist to have a very, very like a very dark narrative around them, because like they've done that in Gears and Saga with their protagonist, and then you still see that in Xenoblade 3, like we talked about it in Xenoblade 3, like Noah and N and stuff. But I want them to get like messier with that stuff.
He just wants people to suffer, man.
Huh?
Right. He just wants people to suffer.
I like my protagonist going through crises.
Traumatized.
Yeah.
I like my phase. I like my cloud strifes. I like that.
Turn up the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll definitely be cool to see like him being able to tell that kind of unfiltered story.
Yeah.
But man, I really appreciate your guys' time here. I can't believe it's been over 2 hours here.
It's easy to pass the time on Xenoblade.
Yeah, we're talking about Xenoblade. I'm sorry for rambling, but
no,
that's what Xenoblade does to us.
Right? It's been good stuff. But I do wanna ask just this one last thing here, and that is the Xenoblade Chronicles series has been pretty highly rated, right? But only the original Xenoblade, not the definitive edition, only the original one has cracked into the 90s. Like Future Redeemed, that hit 90, but only like 16 people reviewed it or something like that. So during the Switch 2 era, will Monolith Soft release a game that finally breaks into Metacritic Must Buy territory?
I could see it.
What is Metacritic Must Buy? What do you have to hit to attain that?
90 and above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they can. They're very, very, very close with 3.
Yeah.
3 was at a 90, and then I think it went down to an 89. And like it's sitting at an 89 right now.
I legitimately think 1 point can be afforded by people who just want to look at technical parameters and see those restrictions removed with Switch 2. I think that'll afford a point or two on its own for some of the sticklers.
I think so too. I also think here I don't put a lot of stock into Metacritic at all. I think Metacritic is very like there are a lot of games that review highly on Metacritic that I don't agree with, and there's a lot of some of my favorite games that have very mild and low Metacritic scores. Like, let me see this right now. Xenoblade. Oh god, I can't spell.
When you branch Metacritic out, then you look at it's like top 50 reviewed or top
Xenoblade
100 reviewed. There's like, what? Why is that
Xenoblade
there?
2 is an 83, which is it's not bad, but when like think about how a lot of games nowadays are hyped up so much, and if it comes out as an 83, the discussion on Twitter is like, "Oh, 83! Oh, that's not." Like, think about that. But like I said, Xenoblade 2 is considered by many to be some of like their favorite game of all time, favorite Xenoblade game, favorite JRPG, best game ever. But it's a 83, so that's why I don't like really believe in Metacritic as much, but I think also another thing that boosts a lot of Metacritic reception is the general hype and reception around that franchise and series. The reason Persona reviews high is because Persona has built that kind of reputation. And then the reason Metaphor's reviewed high, of course, like the reason Persona and Metaphor reviewed high, first of all, are because they're amazing games. Metaphor reviewed high because it was phenomenal, but also because Metaphor had that legacy of Hashino, Soejima, and Meguro going into it, and they're like, this is an evolved version of Persona 5. And I think it's not that Xenoblade has a negative stigma, but a lot of the mainstream still sees Xenoblade either in a very either negative way or not as like upper echelon way yet. But I think the Switch 2 is their it's their time to like break into that.
And slowly the community gets louder, the recognition grows louder. Like, we got Washington Post journalist Gene Park blasting Xenoblade nonstop. You got Stealth going after it nonstop. You got Nintendeals, all these different groups.
Yeah, you got a lot of big content creators who have hopped on Xenoblade. DB Geek has started. He was streaming it earlier this year. King Recon is playing it right now.
Then
you
Jeff
got
Keighley knows we're gonna go after
breaking
him.
down the news for the next game.
And Jeff Keighley knows we're going after him every time.
Recognize Xenoblade.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up for the next Xenoblade. I was very happy to see Xenoblade recognized, but that year taught me a lesson about the video game industry.
We'll see it when we see it, and I'll be ready for it. Let me put it there.
I definitely think once for the more mainstream type of people, once the graphics matches the gameplay, you can definitely add a couple points onto those.
And once the systems and combat is more approachable, I guess. All come together.
But man, thank you guys so much for your time.
No, thank you, man.
Yeah, it was a fun discussion.
Definitely. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, amazing game. It brings people together. Where can people find you guys at?
You want to go, Nishquik?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm Nishquik from Nishquikpops. You can find me on YouTube mostly, Nishquikpops, and then Twitter, Blue Sky, Nishquikpops. Sometimes post on Instagram, Nishquikpops. Am I on anything else? That's oh yes. Speaking of Xenoblade, me and my friend Kevin, the protagonist, have a Xenoblade podcast. We haven't been doing much with it recently, but we'll get back onto it eventually. Talk about Xenoblade X and some other stuff. For me, I mostly do Xenoblade JRPG Nintendo content. I have a lot of Xenoblade X and Xenogears analysis videos in the works. And then I also have some general Nintendo Switch 2 like discussion content that I'm working on as well. So thank you so much, Justin, for having me on this discussion. It was a fun time.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and then I suppose I'll plug in too. Hey, again, if you haven't already seen my name that's been there for 2 hours, it's Yggdrasiel. You can find me there on X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as the Blue Sky. You can find me in the YouTube channel, same name as that's what's shown on there. I mostly cover Xenoblade content, but I do try and put a little bit of reviews and analyses, especially every now and then when the fervor strikes right. I do like to discuss the state of gaming, although that's been quite some time. But in the lulls between Xenoblade announcements, you can catch me doing a few reviews on other RPGs. Currently, I am covering my experience as I go through Xenogears for the first time, and I also recently streamed The Adventures of Elliot, a fantastic HD2D game, which I will be covering shortly. I truly love the HD2D games, and I've been loving what Square Enix has been offering with that. So, yeah, there we are.
Nice. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, let us know what you think. Like, where does Xenoblade Chronicles 3 rank for you in the Xenoblade series? And just let us know what you think about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in the comments. And for more, when I reflected on it just 2 years ago, you can catch this video here. But until next time, I'll see you later. Have a good one.
Later, guys.
Have a good one. Have a good one.